Welcome to another episode of the Pineapple Perspective with Troy Hooper, sponsored by Pepper Lunch Restaurants. Today we've got a cool show for you. We're hanging out with a bud, with a friend, with a guy that we do a lot of things with in the industry when we're out at the conferences, but also we utilize their services here at Pepper Lunch, so they are a partner vendor of ours, and we love what they do. We love what Michael's all about. I'm going to introduce you to Michael Potter from Adentro. Hey, Michael.
Hey, Troy, how's it going?
Going great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's just another day on the podcast.
Absolutely. Pineapple perspective.
This is it. You're
Juicy.
here. You made it. I think only because we had 3 or 4 other cancellations. No, I'm kidding.
That's okay. No, I'm always in the bullpen.
Yeah,
for
always there as the backup. Michael, give the exactly 30-second elevator pitch, who you are, what you do, just a little context, because I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I'd love the audience to have a little bit of knowledge about who's answering it and why their answers might be what they are.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Michael Potter. Currently, I'm the VP of Strategic Accounts for Adentro. Adentro is simply a way to measure your digital marketing spend in the real world to your brick and mortar businesses. So we leverage Wi-Fi to track devices and actually can retarget customers and people that look like your customers, in the real world, and prove that you're either driving a new customer in or you're actually making incremental visits off of the guest Wi-Fi you may already have. So that's what I've been doing. I was the first sales guy in 2012 when it was 14 engineers and me. Came from the restaurant business and left for 4 years, in 2018 and 2021, and came back because, COVID just didn't hit the restaurants hard. It hit everyone who served the restaurants hard. And this is a company I cared a lot about and customers I cared a lot about. So it was the growth into my career doing SaaS sales. Done a lot of different things since, bit of a generalist, but always found myself coming back to the hospitality sector and loving these clients. So
very cool. So with that context, our first question is always, what does hospitality mean to you?
I think it's a feeling to me, having worked in the hotels and having a lineage that was very much in the hospitality sector, expanding Howard Johnson's from the 60s to the 80s. My grandfather led the expansion of all the hotels. His brother, who brought him in at 22, was Howard Johnson's right-hand man that ran all of the restaurants, and their little brother did all of the West Coast expansion. So really cool story there. Then they made their own restaurant group. And I would say from both my mom's side and my dad's side, having really big families. I think when you think of hospitality or being hospitable, that's a feeling, that's home. The more you can make somebody feel like they're home and everything that means, right? Even if you're having a bad day, people at home are going to deal with you, right? They're going to treat you right. They're always going to make sure to try to put a smile on your face, give you what you want, make you comfortable. If something happens, they're going to apologize. They want you to come back. They always want you to come back home. So for me, there's nobody that works harder for a thank you than people that continuously come back to hospitality and love it. There's a reason for that.
So you're saying that where your thesis or belief around what hospitality means is really something you were born into, because essentially what you're saying is, your entire family in one respect or another was involved in hospitality businesses. And so you sort of grew up in that.
Yeah. As I was thinking about this question, Troy, it was pretty funny. I feel very, very lucky that I feel as though the way I am with people I meet, especially, new friends. I mean, my friends actually have a problem that I don't hang out with them at parties and I go make new friends. That's just my personality type. I felt like I was somewhat born into it. I mean, I was the first of 40 grandkids for 8 years. So I was center of attention in this Boston side that made me do the grand old flag at the, South the Irish parade at 5 years old in the Dublin Irish bar. And I always felt hospitality from everyone else around me. And so that was, something. It was always be kind. You have a lot of different people in your family, right? Always make them feel included. And then if all those people already run restaurants and you're doing it not just at the restaurants they run, but at the dinner table that night, or whenever you get home to eat, it's a pretty cool dynamic. Obviously has its wild side, but yeah, I feel like I was a bit born into it.
Yeah, I think like me in a lot of ways, you like to throw a good party. I think we haven't been to a conference that you haven't been like, hey, can we have a house party? Are we going to get some people together? Can we get some people up to the suite and meet some people?
Why not?
Why not?
It's the best part. That's why we're together.
Yeah, I'll tell you this about Michael for those that are listening. It's happened to me at least twice where Michael's walked somebody up to me in a bar or restaurant or event, networking event at a conference, and introduced me to somebody. And I could have swore if you had told me to put money on the table, I would have swore to you he's known that guy for 5 years, 10 years, his life. And it turns out it was somebody he met about 3 minutes earlier or 10 minutes earlier, whatever it was. Michael makes fast friends and people gravitate towards him. So if you're ever out and about, it's not going to be hard to miss this guy if you're in the neighborhood with a badge on. He's probably going to talk to you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
man.
It's a big compliment.
It's especially in your role, it's very helpful, right? So let's talk about, in the industry, you get the chance to really talk to a lot of brands, a lot of your brand partners that are your clients at Adentro. You get to talk to folks about their challenges, what they need and want when it comes to building their CRM of emails or guest information, tracking whether promotions or other forms of digital marketing are actually working. You really get to see what brands are doing. You get to see what their questions, concerns, and challenges are. You also get to see the wins, right? You get to see what is working. So I want to pick your brain on that a little bit because I want the audience to, first understand some things about the importance of digital advertising, the dynamics of digital advertising, but also understand that you can actually attribute and track and get metrics and understand who is coming in your store. I think those are all important things. So give us a couple of high-level observations, things that some of the brands you're working with or some of the brands you've been talking to about working with have brought to the table and shared with you about what's on their mind.
Yeah, I think that, like you guys, I think that there's a segment of folks who are expanding right now when other people are hurting really badly. And those people, in my opinion, tend to have a fairly confident outlook that they can engage their brand, their new brand, or or maybe it's an old brand, but they can go open up new locations. They have either the tenacity or hospitality or that not eccentric, extroverted mindset that they will go out and find the people and bring them to new spots, and those spots will make money and do things. And I think that that's obviously a very development side focus of how you grow and scale a multi-unit brand. But at the same time, I think there's something a little bit deeper in there, which is if you can know the customer and you have a pulse on, high emotional intelligence or whatever that may be, you have a pulse on what people want and you feel like you can create the atmosphere, even in a franchise model, right? Pre-bake it into a book that someone else can create. And it's so good that they're going to, pay off and become very profitable in 3 to 5 years. I mean, that's a wild bet, right? That people are making. And to do that, let's say to open 20 of those, to go from 0 to 50 of those, like some people I know, it's really exciting. But I think there is a certain piece of that is inherent, right? You're tenacious, you feel like people, you're going to go out there and do that. But for those of us who don't, right, there is customer data. And one of the things that I feel like people miss out a lot on is they don't look at knowing their customer as deeply as possible, or they don't go quite deep enough, right? They say, we'll put in a loyalty program and people are just going to adopt that, right? But I'll give you some news. Not even McDonald's has 10% of their entire population of users nationwide, worldwide, that has their app, and they're the best. Now, how does McDonald's, that's 10% of the customers that you're going to be making this bet on. If you stop there, right, then that's the piece of the pie you're playing with, right? You're going to say, well, our brand only works really well with 24, Gen Zers who live by the beach in these coastal towns that are surfers and they drink grapefruit juice, because that's what I see, or that's the anecdotal conversation I have with my franchisees from a marketing standpoint. What if you could know 60% of your total walkthrough traffic, right? What would that mean to you? The first thing that typically comes up is, like everything else, you don't know what you don't know. There may be giant other swaths of people there who would really like your brand, but you've never focused on there because you didn't know that these affinities for the offline world, right? So this whole group of people that went to SeaWorld on December 23rd, turns out they go to coffee down the street 3 times a month, 3 times a week, 3 times a day. Those are all different segments of people. If you want to open up a coffee shop, why wouldn't you introduce it to them first? Especially if you knew 25% of those go to every opening of a new boutique coffee shop within a 5 square mile radius. Well, if you're going to spend ad dollars, let's spend it on the folks who actually we can put good money will convert and actually drive money into your business. And I think the identification and use of data to identify wasted ad spend and where you're throwing money against the wall and not learning anything from it. And anecdotally, yeah, a lot of nice shares, a lot of likes, your presence is great. Okay, after 6 months, where's same store sales? Is it going up? We're giving you $5,000 a month. We're giving you 15 grand a month. We're talking about ad agencies and marketing or marketing managers, whoever. With a platform like ours or others, anything that gives you more information about the customers who are visiting you, who are in your door, who do come back is really important. So whether it's Adentro, and what I'm really trying to do since I came back in 2022 is actually say, well, yeah, we collect a really good amount of data via Wi-Fi, right? Every single visit of anyone who's ever signed on in an Adentro business, which, we're in the Wi-Fi of 25,000 in the United States. We have about 1 in 5 American adults that we're able to see if they go to Pete's Coffee, if they go to a Bolero, right? And we can retarget them. We can actually use the audiences at one, kind of others. Pepper Lunch, true. It just gives, really the basics is it's what e-commerce has had for 20 years is now finally available in almost the exact same way to restaurants, retailers, and any kind of brick and mortar business.
Yeah, that's fascinating. It's the truth that the more you can know. We deploy Adentro, full disclosure, and I was well acquainted with Adentro before Pepper Lunch, but in addition to Adentro, we do other things to listen, learn, engage, survey, ask our customer, ask our existing customer, ask not our existing customer through digital social media, through email, newsletter and campaigns, through online listening, through a platform called Momos, from direct survey engagement like Freets. But they're all different, and they may overlap and get some of the same customers, but they get different information from each customer. But what you're able to actually show us is really that digitally native data that's available and help get us a more robust picture of not only who the customer is, but where else their behavior takes them, right? Whether they go to Simon Malls once a month, they go to SeaWorld once a year, and it's been very valuable insights for us. Talk a little bit about some examples, like case studies, or you don't have to name names, but different size restaurant businesses. What kind of campaigns are they putting out? What are they seeing the best traffic from?
Yeah, so what I always tell people is, and essentially how we set this thing up, right, is we are something that layers on top of your current Wi-Fi network, right? We want to be the only customer-facing Wi-Fi network to pick up people walking in. So that's what people join. Because at the end of the day, we want to grow your brand's fully owned custom first-party customer data database like that. And that's something that also made us different is you own the data. Pepper Lunch owns that data. They can export that data. We don't care, right? That's your data. You should have it. If it stays within our system though, right? If I go into Pepper Lunch and I sign on via the portal, which, think about an airport or a Hilton hotel, right? Where you sign on with a room number, except you only have to do it once. And then I go to any other Pepper Lunch, even if the phone's in my pocket, Pepper Lunch knows I'm there and which one I go to. If I get an ad from Pepper Lunch on Instagram or Facebook, or actually even on the TV or on a Google ad, again, that ad's being served to my phone, maybe because I haven't come back for 30 days, or maybe I came for the last, meat-based protein special or the vegetarian one, right? We can make these segments in the real world because Adentro's also at the sushi place and the taco place and the salad bar and the high school and the gymnasium and Circuit of America racetrack and the Sphere, right? So I'm a deadhead, F1 lover who goes to SeaWorld and also goes to Your Pie 3 times a week, right? Needs to be going over to Gold's Gym more. But these are all segments, and I know it sometimes can come off as a little creepy, a little big brother, but the reality is no one really cares about you, right? That's not what's so important. It's can we drive people that look like our guests who enjoy us the most, right? It's actually caring more about our guests, listening to our guests. It's all the thing the great hospitality operators have ever said. Ask questions to your guests, know where else they go, understand why they don't come back, try to get feedback before they walk out of the door, try to solve problems before they leave, right? If someone gives you a bad review, invite them back in and then ask them to do something, to show that you amended that experience. I feel like we just have the ability to add that hospitality layer that every great GM, every great operator, right, when they're running their one location restaurant at the very beginning, goes up, talks to every family, knows everyone by name. How do you extend that in case you miss somebody on one night or something goes wrong, right? Right when they leave. So not only are we collecting data, but we know that this is Troy Cooper's first time no for an IO, right? As a guy who goes to La Cocina, all these other, nice El Davide, we finally got him in and he left. Well, we want to follow up and see how that experience went. It's not replacing hospitality, but it is giving you an offline dialogue, right? That's relevant based on, is this your first experience? Is it not? Those are all these smart emails we've had forever. So they're triggered. And those were actually measured within 7 days. Did we bring Troy Cooper back? So that was a huge value add for, in 2012, when it was just opens and click-through rates, we patented the walkthrough rate, right? Can you open, click on something, and does it drive you back in within a week? Now we've extended that to advertising, which is very exciting because of the new customer acquisition and being able to see, well, is it this creative on Instagram to this audience actually, has a 7-to-1 return on ad spend in terms of it drove 7 times more people in the last 28 days than the same creative to the same audience on Facebook. So now what do we choose to do? Every 2 weeks, we look at that and we say, let's take the money out of the one that's not performing. And we can finally make the decision to put it where it's actually driving us money and see that we can now double it or at least increase it by a third in 2 weeks. That's real. I don't want to call it revenue, right? Because I know there's a lot of things that I don't know as a SaaS technology guy, like the cost of goods, labor, all the cogs that go into it. And that's from working with, Danny Stoller on my side and getting educated, and you and everybody else. Advertising is not really driving money, in my opinion. It is driving visits and it's driving a relationship, right? So if our system can tell that your average customer visit frequency within a quarter after, if someone visits in August, how many times on average everyone comes in between their first visit in August, during the fall, and December is 4 times, right? We can look back at that next year. We can run, not did we drive more money this year? Did we actually get new people in the door? Did we increase that to 6 in the same period? Or did we increase the average visit frequency of a new customer we acquired through an ad to come in 3 times in the first month rather than 4 times in in half a year? And the visits are really where the power is, because that finally gives us something measurable that we can actually look at, not just like, let's just run this promotion in this region and see if it does better than in this region. And then then that ad dies. And now let's think of something else. So we can be very, very diagnostic about what we want. An incremental visit frequency month over month from the same cohort of guests. We're getting, one that only visits 1.2 times a month, getting 10% of them to visit twice the following month and then continue that pattern. Those are real dollars.
Yeah, no, I think the analytics piece of it's amazing. I mean, let's make sure it's really clear to the audience. It may not be real clear. The Wi-Fi gating tool is the tool that allows for not only the collection and building of your first party CRM of guest data, but the fact that you have hundreds of millions of people on this system, this network, and that we can not only advertise to them, but when they come in, when they've seen an ad, they don't have to redeem a promotion. They don't have to redeem a QR code. They don't have to present something that they can just walk in the door because they saw something from a brand, and the Wi-Fi gate will ping them. It's geofencing using Wi-Fi at the end of the day. And so I just wanted to bring that out. So it's really direct attribution that these people saw this ad 3 days ago and then came in. That was their first visit. They were on our network and they never been there before. Now they're a Pepper Lunch customer. So now we can ping and follow where else they go and how often do they come in to that, or any, like you said, any other Pepper Lunch. And the reality is every time I walk into a Pepper Lunch, it pops up and says, want to join and welcome back. And then within hours to a day later, I get a message on my phone or an email that says, hey, thanks for coming in. I hope you enjoyed your experience, and it gives me a chance to give feedback or whatever, right? That's super powerful.
Yep.
But I think, what's really interesting is being able to segment people by far more attributable things beyond demographic and sociographic, which you can get from a lot of
Yes.
tools. But this actually tells you that the percentage of your customers are this age and all these demographic details, but also they eat at these places, they dine, they shop at these places, they recreate at these places, they do entertainment at these places, and that information helps you build a better picture so that when you go to create your messaging can be really tailored to that person, that persona, that avatar, as we guess people are. It gives us a deeper understanding. So I think that is really powerful when you really think about focusing on the niches. Look, you can sit in your restaurant all day and take, manual survey of who's walking in the door and say, oh, great, 20% of our customers were this age and this demo, da, da, da. But you don't know anything else about them. You know what they look like, you know what they bought, you know, if they're regulars, you kind of know that you've seen them before. That's anecdotal, right? That's not real data. Real data, as Adentro tells you very clearly, that user ID 47 numbers in a row is a white male, 48 years old or some range, da, 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 and here's his behavior, and this is the kinds of things that he would respond to. So put that into his phone, right? Put that in his.
Yeah, and I really like how you phrase it, Troy, because it's also just, I mean, just think about, for the audience, think about when, like, getting to know somebody in general, and like how quickly it moves from, if you can create a deep relationship fast, it's usually because you have something in common that's not, you know, readily available on the surface. Like, you might look at me and not know that I like only chocolate ice cream, whatever, right? Or musical theater, whatever it could be. But you find these things out when you have a conversation, you get to know somebody. And I think that's what's really powerful of the platform, and why I, as somebody who loves hospitality, loves making people have a good time, loves trying to, make also them feel heard and safe and a part of a community. And that's very difficult to do if it almost does the opposite when you're just, we need to get emails out, or we need to get text marketing, or we need to get everyone to adopt this loyalty program. So we're going to shove it down their throat as if like two cohorts, male and female. It's like, there's just a lot more layers, and it helps to know things. And what I like what you said earlier is, and I'll reiterate that too. We uncovering can allow a business to reach a lot more people in a lot better of a way. But there's still a huge component, which is, it still takes work to do that messaging, to try to understand that guest, right? It does make it easier. It does make it actionable, but I have a great story. I can't say who it is right now, but there is a gal that I have been working with for a very, very well-known, well-established old school group. Who's a multi-unit franchisee. And I can't tell you, she listened to me. I said, if you set up these things in the first 4 weeks, the smart messages, the triggers, the labeling, brand your portal, put the app download thing on it, you make it essentially just get everybody who's going to look at their phone a billboard that gives a reason to come in next, an offer to go, something they didn't know about the brand while they're there that they can ask about, kind of gamify it. And in their first month of running ads, because I always say, go for 45 days, because we're just collecting data. We actually want to know what a regular looks like. We want to know what the customer looks like before we start throwing money at advertising either new customers or driving that, right? It's a data point. It warms my heart so much when I have a performance call, the first performance call with a brand, and you really see what the effort, one person on the team that is, very conscientious about thinking about what to write, right? Not killing yourself. Again, it's really simple stuff, but just like right when a customer walks out of your door, it's a first time customer message, right? You said you get them like a day or 20 minutes later. That's so different than when you go into your inbox and you're like, and you just scroll through everything, right? It's a little more relevant. So what could you say at that point in time? Right? Love to hear from you. Love to hear a review. Did you know about our happy hour special activation wine dinner pairing with executive chef X? So these people want to know. I mean, look, you're a fun thing. You're doing hospitality for a reason. And I think we do a very good job, if the messaging's right by the client, to get that message in front of people to extend that hospitality outside the
Well, and the
restaurant.
point is that you give us the information that makes our job easier and more efficient and more
Yeah.
productive because we can create the messaging. If I really understand who my customer is, even by big chunks, even by like say segment all my customers into 4 buckets, but within each bucket, there's some differences between, the 20,
Okay.
24 to 30-year-old, whatever, then I can think about, if nothing else, my imagery, right? Maybe the images, the type of people that are in my ads, the type of food I'm putting in my ads. So many, big percentage of our vegetarian dishes are sold to women 30 to 34, blah, blah, blah. Here's a long list of attributes. Okay. Well, not only do I want women that look like that in my ad, but I need to put women that look like that with that food. And I need to deliver messaging about the fact that we have more than just tofu, right? We have great salads
Right.
and we have great, other things that they might be interested in, and similarly with when you think about learning about customer behavior in regards to like flexitarian, right? These are people that are trying not to eat meat all day, every day. Well, if all we ever put out in advertising is beef, 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 meat, 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 chicken, salmon, right? We're pretty much telling them we're not for them. But the reality is we have lots of things for them. And maybe when they are looking for that protein hit, we have some alternatives for them that are more healthy, higher portion size, cleaner, tastier. Maybe they don't feel guilty when they come in and choose that protein dish. And they know that we have other types of protein besides beef, right? So it's all about like your general messaging, getting it down to that individual who loves you, wants to love you, wants to tell people about you, but you've got the veto vote you got to deal with in groups of people, especially young people and couples and families. So you've got to be able to understand who they are so you can communicate clearly.
If I could just tell like a bit of an anecdote, because you asked about, client
Yeah.
stories and you just reminded me of one. And to take that example a step farther, so we were running this for a new, let's call it savory alcoholic beverage, right? For a large brand. They wanted to convert this younger demographic who is out at brunch doing bottomless mimosas and all of these kind of things with a new option at the time of purchase, because this age group may be getting tired of that same repetitive drink. And now would be the time to install some loyalty or a first new brand of something that would take that place, because they're not going to stop going to brunch or having these day drinks on Sunday with their friends if they're, in that age group and doing that. If we can identify that they're always there at these times, with the connection to the POS system, we know that they are, let's say, champagne buyers. And now we start being able to look at the data over a period of time and saying, where does all of a sudden do they become beer drinkers? And where does that often happen? Same thing goes with if you were a flexitarian, when does that group tend to order, right? Is it 4 meat meals on nighttime? Because again, if we just see the phone, if somebody walk in, we know when they're there, how long they're there, what day of the week, if it's twice in a day, what, where they're driving from, where they're going to. I mean, you can really map out a whole group of people. And then wouldn't it be cool if you were able to say, hey, almost preemptively, tonight is the non-protein, the non-meat day for you. We have something special for you.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then, the other thing we didn't talk about, like you said, like you sort of alluded to just then, is sort of the in time capacity, right? Ads could be programmed to be delivered at the times when people are thinking about making these decisions, right? Do people make a decision about boozy brunch on Sunday at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning? No, they start talking about it on Friday after work at happy hour when they're like, hey, let's get together this weekend. What about brunch on Sunday? Where do we want to go? Blah, blah, blah. Right. And back to that similar mindset is if you're pushing a boozy brunch flight of mimosas, if you understand who the customers are and that 5% of your customers are converted to reducing their alcohol consumption. And how do you know that? Well, they started going to the gym all of a sudden and they started going to these other places that focus on, oh, by the way, they went to a non-alcoholic bar. There's actual bars popping up all over major metropolises now that don't serve alcohol, but serve things that look and taste and seem like a cocktail, but that's to give people the alternative. you could
Yes.
then place that into the messaging. You could say, hey, want to join your boozy brunch friends, but don't want to feel obligated to drink alcohol on Sunday? We've got a great mocktail, and Scott Taylor hates that word, so I'm sorry I used mocktail, Scott. Um, this non-alcoholic, menu for you. There's all kinds of terms. It hasn't really settled in yet, and I'm not in full service right now, so I don't know what people are calling
Craft
it. But
beverage. It's a craft,
yeah.
it's crafted. Yeah.
You and I don't know anything about that.
I do now, Troy, because I just had my 35th birthday last weekend, and we had a bunch of people. We did like big game in the park, like getting people together. And I haven't tried one of those, non-alcoholic beers or IPAs or whiskeys, but I'm in San Francisco. They
A
have
lot of it.
full liquor stores with only non-liquor stores, and it's like $100
Yeah.
bottles, and they're
It's like
selling
fancy stuff.
all
Yeah.
the, it's
It's
all glass,
boozy
all beautifully
startups.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. The boozy, non-boozy startups. But I got to tell you, I had one of the beer. I was drinking one of the beers kind of late because we had to move everything back to the house and all that. And it was so wonderful having something that tasted like a beer while drinking with all of my friends who were having this really great time playing cornhole, doing all these things. Also knowing that I was just hydrating
Right.
myself. It was still good. So that's coming a long way. I think there's a big thing to be made there.
Something to be there. If you're not in the game, get in it.
Hey, I might be right at the point of purchase here.
You're on
You're
on the bubble, right? You're on the bubble. You're converting. You're willing to try. You're a warm
right
lead on pushing people towards that. Yeah, yeah. Well, look, I'm in LA and I need to get myself into one of these places. I've seen some advertisements in Santa Monica and things that full on bars. It's to give you the atmosphere, right? And give you the camaraderie and the opportunity to network and meet people and stuff, but without the focus on the alcohol part of it, which is pretty cool. All right, my friend. Well, we are just about out of time. I'd like to wrap these conversations up with a little personalized get to know you questions. So I'll just throw out some 2 or 3 random thoughts here. Because I know what your girlfriend does for a living and had most recently done, I know you do enjoy quite a lot of the live entertainment, whether it's music or otherwise. So what was the last concert, comedy, or show? What was the last live performance you took in?
We were just there on. It was called Chicano
Okay.
Batman.
Is that a music act? What is
It
this?
was great.
I don't.
It is. It's a rock and roll
Okay.
band. And they are good. Bunch of costume changes down in Stern Grove, and then we're actually going. Very excited about going to go see the Lake Street Dive at the Greek in Berkeley on the 27th of July.
Right.
That's Esther's my girlfriend's favorite band, so got her tickets.
So for those of you who don't know, I mean, Michael outed himself at 35, but Michael is a 21-year-old, 35-year-old. So these two get out and enjoy the live entertainment and all the things that the Bay Area has to offer in really cool cultural opportunities. Michael, because of that, I know you like to get out. I know you get the opportunity to get out to restaurants and things with not only your business, but you're in the wonderful San Francisco proper. So there's a lot of phenomenal food. What's the best meal you've had in the last little bit?
If anyone has ever been to Little Joe's in North Beach, they opened up this smaller takeout like Italian market, right? Marin Joe's or Little Joe's is the one I'm talking about. Sorry, Original Joe's is the one in North Beach. It's been there forever, and honestly, whenever we just don't feel like cooking, but still want to have a really good meal, we just call in. You get a half chicken with lime chili verde sauce and this homemade barbecue sauce that's just baked chicken, roasted potatoes that have been kind of like, looks like almost parboiled and then shaked and then fried and like a beet salad from there. It's like 12, no, not 12, it's like 15, $16. It's very inexpensive, feeds us. We'll get, a glass of wine or something like that from there too. And, come home and watch whatever the new show is right now. It's Game of Thrones.
All right, my friend. Thanks for coming on. Glad to have you. If you people want to learn more about Adentro and find Michael Potter and talk about all these tools and tips and tricks, how do they find you guys?
Just go to www.adentro.com. That's ANDENTRO. And if you want to shoot me an email and have some time to talk, it's just mpotter@adentro.com. That's like Harry Potter, E-R, M as in Michael.
The not so famous, less famous, but far more gregarious Michael Potter over the Harry Potter. Good to have you, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Troy. Appreciate it. Love the pod, man.
Thank you for listening to The Pineapple Perspective. If you loved today's episode, leave a review and a 5-star rating. I look forward to welcoming you back next time.